and Pharmaceuticals in association with Higher Secondary Principals Forum.
Hello my dear friend. So today I have taken one chapter. The chapter is Theory of Demand. The chapter I have taken from Microeconomics. For 12th standard we have Microeconomics and Macroeconomics. So from the micro I have taken one unit, and that is the Theory of Demand, which is very important unit. So under this unit let us see what is the meaning of demand. So let us see the concept of demand. What is demand? Now, when we say demand, it is a desire to buy a commodity. Only desire to buy a commodity, can we say it is a demand? No. Desire to buy a commodity backed by purchasing power. You should have a purchasing power. Without purchasing power, you cannot buy any commodity. So, demand is what? It is a desire to buy a commodity backed by purchasing power, and purchasing power followed by willingness to buy. So, when all these three are there, then we can call it is a demand. So, what is demand? Demand is a desire to buy a commodity followed by purchasing power and followed by willingness to buy. So, that is about the concept of demand. So, what are the determinants of demand? The next comes the determinants. What is meant by determinant? Determinant means the factors which are influencing demand. So, whenever we go in the market to buy a product, so when we buy a product, there are certain factors that are deciding whether to buy more or to buy less, whether to have more demand or less demand. So, these are called the determinants. These are called the factors which are influencing demand. So, what are the factors that are influencing demand? The factor those who are influencing demand are: 1, price of commodity. This is one very important factor that influences demand. Price of a commodity. It is also called as the own price of the commodity. Suppose the price of the commodity is very high. So, higher the price, usually we demand less. That means at higher price, demand is less. And if price of the product is less, lower the price, larger quantities are demanded. That means price of the commodity is one of the factor which is also called as a determinant of demand. The next one is price of substitute goods. What is meant by price of substitute goods? Or which goods are called substitute goods? Substitute goods are those goods, the goods which can be replaced by another product. For example, tea and coffee are substitute good. Pepsi and cola are substitute good. That means the one product can be replaced by another product. The one product which can be substituted by another product. So, price of the substitute commodity also changes demand. Say for example, X and Y, these are the two commodities are there, X and Y. Now, demand for X depends upon price of Y. So, that means demand for X depends upon price of substitute commodity. Y is a substitute commodity here. So, price of substitute commodity also changes demand. Then the price of the complementary goods. Now, which goods are called complementary goods? Complementary goods are jointly demanded. Use of one commodity depends upon availability of another commodity. For example, car and petrol. Car and petrol are complementary goods. Use of car depends upon availability of petrol. Say for example, if the price of car gone up, definitely there is a less demand for petrol. If the price of car come down, there is a greater demand for petrol. That means demand for a commodity also depends upon price of complementary goods. Car and petrol, pen and ink are complementary goods. So, demand for ink depends upon demand for pen, or demand for petrol depends upon demand for car. Greater the demand for car, definitely there is a greater demand for petrol. So, these are called price of complementary goods. So, price of complementary goods also changes the demand. The another factor which are influencing demand are income of the consumer. If consumer has more income, greater the income, definitely there is a greater demand. So, consumer's income changes demand. More the income or increase in the income of the consumer, definitely there is a greater demand for the commodity. If the income of the consumer is less, demand is less. So, income of the consumer also changes demand. Okay. Then next is taste, preference, habits, fashion. These are another factor which are also influencing demand. Taste of the consumer. If the consumer like the taste of a particular product, definitely there is a greater demand. If consumer doesn't like the taste, demand is less. Do you know that there are some people who prefer particular product? When you go in the market to buy tea powder, there are certain people go for a particular brand only. They are preferring particular product only. So, when we go in the market to buy toothpaste, we prefer a particular brand. This is called preference of the consumer. Then fashion also changes demand. If a particular product comes in fashion, there is a greater demand for the product. If the product is out of fashion, demand may be less. Habit, some people are having habit of a particular product. So, suppose you are having the habit of a particular product only, so you demand those goods. So, there is a greater demand. You do not have habit, demand is less. So, these are the factors which are influencing demand. So, due to this factor, demand changes. So, these are called determinants of demand. Okay. Then the next is a very important law we have is a law of demand. Now, let us see the law of demand. In law of demand, we are going to study the statement given by Marshall, assumptions, then we are going to study the schedule diagram, then the exceptions to the law of demand. These are all we are going to study in this law of demand. So, how the law is defined? Marshall states that other things being equal, you can start with the inverted comma, other things being equal. What exactly mean by other things being equal? That means the law has some conditions. When these conditions remain as it is, these conditions are also called as assumptions. So, these are the assumptions to the law of demand. So, we are going for the assumption, but before I go to the assumption, let us see what Marshall says. Marshall states the law as other things being equal, larger quantities are demanded at a lower price and less quantities are demanded at a higher price. That means higher the price, demand is always less, and lower the price, demand is always greater. This law operates, when it operates, so the law says other things being equal. That means the law has some condition, or you can say the law has some assumptions. So, what are the assumptions to the law of demand? The assumptions to the law of demand are: 1, taste and preferences of the consumer, very important. So, law says what? Taste and preferences of the consumer should remain constant. If taste and preferences of the consumer changes, law will not operate. For example, what law says? Law says that higher the price, demand should be less, and lower the price, there should be greater demand. That should be greater demand. For example, suppose a consumer like the taste of a particular product, he like the taste. Even at higher price, he may buy larger quantity because he like the taste. Law says what? Higher the price, demand should be less. There should be less demand whenever price is high. So, law will not operate. So, law says what? taste and preferences of the consumer should remain constant. So, this is one condition or assumptions to the law. The next one is no change in income of the consumer. Very important. Consumer's income should remain as it is. There should not be change in consumer's income. If consumer's income changes, law will not operate. Law says what? Higher the price, demand should be less, and lower the price, there should be greater demand. If, for example, if there is a change in consumer's income, say for example, if the consumer's income increases, increase in the income, even at higher price he may buy or he may demand more. So, law will not operate. Law says what? Higher the price, demand should be less. That means consumer's income should remain as it is. So, taste and preferences of the consumer should remain constant. Consumer's income should remain constant, and third one is price of related goods do not change. So, which are related goods? Related goods are substitute goods are related goods, complementary goods are related goods. So, price of related goods should not change, particularly substitute goods. Price of substitute goods should remain as it is. There should not be change in the price of substitute goods. So, when all these assumptions remain constant, remain as it is, then law operates. And what is that operation? What law says? If all these conditions remain as it is, then higher the price, less quantities are demanded, lower the price, larger quantities are demanded. So, these are the assumptions to the law. After assumption, let us go to the demand schedule. So, look at the schedule given there. So, in the table, look at the table, there are two columns are given there, right. Column 1, price of X, X is a commodity here, X is a product. So, price of X commodity given in rupees, and second column is quantity of X demanded. So, let us see at different prices what is the demand. Look at that schedule. So, when price of X commodity is 10 rupees, 10 rupee is price of the commodity. When price is 10, so 10 is a higher price. So, higher the price, look at the demand. Demand is only 100. If the price come down from 10 to 9, this is a fall in price. If the price come down from 10 to 9, look at the demand. Demand has gone up from 100 to 150. Why it has gone up? Why there is a greater demand? The demand is greater because price has come down. From 10, it has come down to 9. So, it results into higher demand, greater demand. So, demand is 150 now. If price further fall, from 10 it comes to 8. With the fall in price, look at the demand. Demand has increased from 150, it has gone to 200. That means lower and lower price, that means from 10 to 9, 9 to 8, look at the demand. Demand starts increasing. That means lower and lower price, larger and larger quantities are demanded, 100 to 150, 150 to 200. Got it? Vice versa. Suppose let us see that when price is very low, 8 rupees, one X commodity available in the market. What is the demand? When price is 8 rupees, demand, total demand is 200. 200 is the demand. If price starts rising from 8, price has gone to 9 now. There is increase. With the increase in price, look at the demand. Demand come down from 200, it has come down to 150. Further rise in price. From 9, it has gone to 10. Further rise in price, look at the demand. Demand from 150, it has come down to 100. That means higher and higher price, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, look at the demand. Demand starts declining. From 200, it goes to 150, and from 150, it has gone to 100. So, what the schedule tells us? It tells us that demand has inverse relationship with the price. What is the inverse relation? So, we have we have two variables here. One variable is a price, another variable is a demand. When the price starts rising, rise and rise in price, look at the demand. With a rise in price, demand declines. Got it? If the price starts declining, demand starts increasing. So both the variables are moving in the opposite direction. So demand has inverse relationship. So this is regarding the schedule. The law is also explained with the help of diagram. So let us see the demand curve. So look at the DD curve. Look at the slope. DD curve is sloping downwards towards the x-axis. That means DD has a negative slope. So if price is OP is the price, then see that OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. Clear? Suppose if the price come down to OP1, let us see what happens to the demand. So look at that, this is a fall in price. If the price come down to OP1 with the fall in price, look at the demand. Larger quantities are demanded. So what is the demand here? Larger quantities are demanded, that is OM1. So here OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. This is our original situation. Clear? If price come down to, look at the arrow, this downward slope, downward arrow tells us that there is a fall in price. When the price come down, larger quantities are demanded, that is OM1. Clear? If price increases, if there is increase in price to OP2, see that this is increase in price. Now price is OP2. With the increase in price, look at the demand. With the rise in price, see that with the rise in price, less quantity are demanded, that is OM2. That means higher the price, less quantities are demanded, lower the price, larger quantities are demanded. Other things being equal. When all other conditions remain constant, all other conditions remaining as it is, then at lower price, larger quantities are demanded, and at higher price, less quantities are demanded. This is the DD is a demand curve here. Is that clear? So this is regarding the demand curve. Clear? So what we have studied in demand curve is in law of demand we have studied the assumptions to the law. Marshall says what? Other things being equal, larger quantities are demanded at a lower price and less quantities are demanded at a higher price when all these conditions, all the assumptions remain as it is. Clear? Then we have seen the law of demand with the help of schedule. Schedule tells us at different prices, different quantities are demanded. At higher prices, less quantities are demanded, and at lower price, larger quantities are demanded. In the demand curve, we have already seen at lower price, larger quantity, at a higher price, less quantities are demanded. That means higher the price, less the demand, and lower the price, more demand. Clear? But law has some exception. There are certain goods to which the law is not applicable. So what are those goods? They are called exceptions to the law of demand. So these are certain goods and services are there to which the law is not applicable. What law says? Higher the price, less quantities are demanded, lower the price, larger quantities are demanded. That is what law says. But these are the goods we can say, or these are the cases I can say to which the law is not applicable. For example, prestige goods. Prestige goods like for example diamond, gold jewelry. Do you know that who demand this type of goods? Gold jewelry, diamonds are purchased by whom? They are purchased by rich people. So whenever price of prestige goods like gold jewelry, diamond increases, whenever there is increase in price of these goods, there is a greater demand for diamond and gold from rich people. Law says what? Higher the price, demand should be less. But in case of prestige goods, which the goods like diamond and jewelry, which are demanded by rich people, they are demanding larger quantity when price increases. Or if the price of gold and diamond comes down, there is a less demand from rich people. That means they are not applicable to the law. Law says what? Lower the price, there should be greater demand. Whereas in case of prestige goods, if the price come down, rich people are not demanding. If the price goes up, they are demanding more. So prestige good is an exception to the law of demand. Another exception to the law of demand is ignorance. Sometimes due to our ignorance, our consumer is unaware of the prices of different commodities. What he feels that if the price is high, he thinks that the product is of a superior quality and he demands more. So at higher price, because of our ignorance, at higher price we are demanding more. There may be other goods which are available in the market having lower price, but we are not demanding because of our ignorance. So ignorance is another exception to the law of demand. So ignorance from consumer side. Consumer is unaware of the prices of different commodities and he thinks that higher the price means product is of a superior quality, so he demand more. So sometimes branded goods there is a greater demand, and if the price of the commodity is low or less, demand is less, which is against the law. Law says what? Higher the price, demand should be less, and lower the price, there should be greater demand. Giffen goods are also exception. Giffen goods like low quality potatoes, cereals, bread, these are inferior giffen goods we say. Now these type of goods are purchased by very poor people. Poor people are demanding this type of goods. So when the price of giffen goods increases, there is a greater demand from the poor people. If this price of giffen goods come down, same poor people are not demanding that product. They are shifting to some other quality product, better quality product. That means when price of giffen goods come down, poor people are not demanding, and at higher price of the same commodity they are demanding. That means these are exception to the law. As you know that law says what? Higher price there should be less demand, and lower price there should be greater demand. So in case of giffen good, the giffen goods are also called as an exception to the law of demand. So all these are exception to the law of demand. Clear? Then we are going for, then there are another two important cases are there. One is called movement along the demand curve and second is shift in demand curve. Now what is movement along the demand curve? In case of movement along the demand curve, DD curve is not shifting. Whereas in case of shift in demand, DD curve shift either to right hand side or left hand side. So in case of shift in demand, DD curves are shifting. So shift in demand are two types: increase in demand and decrease in demand. And movements along the demand curve are two types: one, expansion, second, contraction. So let us see with the help of diagram both the cases. Let us go with first with the movement along the demand curve. Let me make it clear that movement along the demand curve are two types: expansion, contraction. expansion and contraction are due to price and all other factors should remain constant. Whereas in case of shift in demand, price remains same but other factors are changing. Do you know that we have studied determinants of demand or factors which are influencing demand? In that factors influencing demand we have studied what? Price of the commodity, taste, preference, income of the consumer, price of substitute goods, complementary goods. So here in case of movement along the demand curve, only price changes and other factor remain as it is. Whereas in case of shift in demand, price remain as it is and other factors are changing. So in case of shift in demand, price remain as it is, other factors are changing. In case of movement along the demand curve, price changes, other factors remain constant. So let us go with the movement along the demand curve, and in the movement along the demand curve, both the diagrams I will show you expansion and contraction I will show with the help of diagram. Then after that diagram we are going for shift in demand curve. Well, so let us go to the expansion of demand. So let us see expansion of demand. So demand expands and demand contracts, as I said, due to change in price. Okay. So here we have a DD curve. As you know that DD has negative slope. So when price is OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. So let us see, this is the A point. Okay. The A point is on the DD curve, So what it tells us? It tells us that OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. Okay. Our case is expansion of demand. Well, so this A point tells us that OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. Okay. So let us see the expansion of demand. When demand expands with a fall in price. Suppose the price come down. Okay. So here if you look at the DD curve, there is a movement from the upper point A to lower point B. Now what this movement tells us? It tells us that, see that when the price starts declining, price starts declining or falling, I can say. With the fall in price, look at the demand. Larger and larger quantities are demanded. That means fall in price, larger and larger quantities are demanded. This is called expand. This is called expansion of demand. So when demand expands with a fall in price. So when OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. If price come down from OP, it comes down to OP1, look at the demand. Larger quantities are demanded, that is from OM to OM1. This is called expansion of demand. Clear? So let us go to the contraction of demand. So let us see when demand contracts. Well, DD is a demand curve here. So at OP price, OM is the quantity demanded. This is our original situation. A point tells us that OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. Okay. Let us see when demand contracts. Demand contracts with a rise in price. Other factor remain constant. Suppose price rises. So this is rise in price. So look at the arrow. The arrow is moving upward direction. The upward direction arrow tells us that rise in price. With the rise in price, let us see demand. See that there is a movement from upper point A to, we can say, now A is a lower point, from lower point A to upper point C. This movement, upward movement, tells us that demand contracts. So this is a contraction. This is a contraction. When demand contracts with a rise in price. So when price rises, demand contracts, and there is a movement from lower point A to upper point C. This is called contraction of demand. So let us compare expansion and contraction. When we compare expansion and contraction, see that when price is OP, OM is the demand, fall in price, demand expands. And there is a movement, now A is the upper point. There is a movement from upper point A to lower point B. This is expansion. Fall in price, demand expands. Whereas here, rise in price, demand contracts. And there is a movement from lower point A to upper point C. So this is expansion and contraction of demand. Is that clear? So the next is shift in demand. Now in case of shift in demand, other factors are changing, price remains same. Whereas here, in this expansion and contraction, price changes, other factors are remaining constant. See that in expansion and contraction, price change, other factors remain constant. Whereas shift in demand, that is the second case we are going for, shift in demand. In case of shift in demand, we have increase in demand and decrease in demand. So increase and decrease in demand, price remain as it is, price remain constant, but other factors are changing. So let us go to the shift in demand. As you know that in case of shift in demand, there are two types of shift in demand are there. One, increase in demand, and second is decrease in demand. So let us go increase in demand and decrease in demand with the help of diagram. Now in case of increase in demand, price remain as it is, there is no change in price, whereas other factors are changing. Which are the other factor? Consumer like the taste of the product comes in fashion, people are preferring a particular product, or consumers income have increased. So these are the other factor, or increase in population, number of people have increase in the population. So because of all these factor, there may be increase in demand, and whenever there is increase in demand, DD curve shift to right hand side. We have a new curve. Before I go to the new curve, let me explain it again. DD is our original demand curve. What this DD curve tells us? It tells us that OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. Clear? Now price remain as it is, no change in price. No change in price, whereas other factors are changing. Which are the other factor? Income of the consumer increased, or people like the taste, product comes in fashion, like these are the other factor. All other factors are changing. Because there is a change in other factor, DD curve shift to right hand side. So we have a new curve. The curve is D1 D1 curve. Look at the curve. So we have a new curve. What this curve tells us? At same OP price, see that larger quantities are demanded. See, look at the arrow. At same price, larger quantities are demanded, that is OM1. Got it? So whenever there is increase in demand, DD curve shift to right hand side. Shifting the DD curve to right hand side is called increase in demand. Let me revise again. DD is our original demand curve, OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded. You know this original situation. If other factors are changing and price remains same, other factors, that means increase in income of the consumer, people like the taste, product comes in fashion, because of all these there is a greater demand, and when there is a greater demand, DD curve shift to right hand side. So we have a new curve. What is that curve? D1 curve. What it tells us? It tells us that at same OP price, larger quantity, that is OM1, are demanded. This is called increase in demand. Okay. So let us go to the decrease in demand case. As you know that this is our original situation, DD is the demand curve, OP is the price, OM is the quantity demanded, OM is the quantity demanded. If other factors are changing and price remain as it is, which are the other factor? Suppose the product is out of fashion, decrease in population, or people doesn't like the taste of the commodity, income of the consumer has come down. Because there is a less income, people doesn't like the taste, product is out of fashion, there is a less demand, and when there is a less demand, DD curve shift to left hand side. So we have one more curve. The curve is D2 curve. See that the curve is shifting to which side? The curve is shifting to left hand side. The curve shifts to left hand side. So we have a new curve, that is D2 curve. What it tells us? It tells us that at same OP price, less quantity are demanded. At same OP price, less quantity are demanded. This is called decrease in demand. Whenever there is a decrease in demand, DD curve shift to left hand side, and whenever there is increase in demand, DD curve shift to right hand side. Okay.
Prudent Scholars, powered by Lupin Pharmaceuticals.